Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're about to really get into a story today that, well, it doesn't just grab you, it makes you rethink things like duty, loyalty, even sacrifice.
It really does.
Last time, we sort of immersed ourselves in the start of the Kurukshetra War, didn't we? That fiery, brutal beginning.
Driven by Draupadi's humiliation, yeah. A terrible catalyst.
Exactly. It just poured fuel on this already massive fire. So today, we're pushing deeper, right into the thick of it. We're going to see alliances getting seriously strained, warriors facing impossible choices, and then there's this one huge event that changes everything. The fall of Bhishma.
Grandsire.
Yeah, the revered grandsire. And look, this isn't just some ancient story we're recounting. It feels more like a deep dive into human problems, surprising twists, and maybe the heartbreaking cost of sticking to your guns.
And that's spot on. Yeah. Bhishma's fall. It's not just the military loss for the Kauravas, though. I mean, it was absolutely devastating for them on that front.
Right.
But it's more.
Yeah.
It's a real turning point, a massive symbolic shift in the, you could say, the soul of the war.
Okay.
So our mission today really is to pull out the key insights from the sources.
Right.
We want to help you understand the huge impact of just one man's choices stuck in the middle of all that chaos.
Makes sense.
In this dive, it's going to uncover some surprising stuff. The facts behind his impossible loyalty and, what I find fascinating, his ultimate defeat, which was almost self-orchestrated.
Self-orchestrated. Okay, intriguing.
It's a story just so full of human paradox,
Yeah.
It sticks with you.
Okay, let's really untack this then. Try and picture it if you can, Don. Kurukshetra, this huge battlefield, and the air feels heavy. Not just morning chill, but like dread, real tension.
You could imagine.
Then the conches blow. That sound, a kind of mournful but defiant, signaling another day of fighting.
Yeah.
You hear Arjuna's bow, the Gandiva, thundering. That sound alone must have struck fear.
Oh, absolutely. Legendary skill.
And Bhima, roaring like a lion, just this raw, ground-shaking sound.
Pure power.
And right there, leading Duryodhana's massive army, Bhishma.
The grandsire himself.
The guy who was basically the patriarch, right? Raised both the Pandavas and the Kauravas. Family, wisdom, revered.
The ethical bedrock, almost.
So, the big question, the thing that creates all this tension is, how? How did he, this pillar of Dharma, end up not just on the other side, but leading the charge against the very grandkids he loved? What did the sources tell us about that? The reasoning, or maybe the agony behind it?
That's the absolute core of it, isn't it? And it goes right back to Bhishma's character, his vows. Vows made long, long before this war even looked possible.
Yeah.
The sources are really clear. Bhishma was bound by this ironclad oath of loyalty. A sacred duty, you see, to serve the throne of Hastinapura.
And regardless of who sat on it.
Regardless, exactly. And at this point, that was Duryodhana. So you can almost feel the weight on it, the internal conflict. It's crushing. Because his heart, well, it leaned towards the Pandavas, towards justice. He knew their cause had merit. But his duty, his sacred word, it literally chained him to Duryodhana's side. It's just a profound personal cost for upholding a vow.
A vow that normally would be seen as a virtue.
The ultimate virtue. And here becomes this agonizing paradox. When your unshakable principle, like loyalty to an oath, forces you to act against your own deepest moral feelings.
Yeah, you can see echoes of that kind of conflict elsewhere, can't you?
Oh, definitely. Think about soldiers bound by oath to regimes they privately disagree with, or leaders upholding treaties they know are unfair. Bhishma's story just makes you feel that struggle, that split between heart and sworn word, so intensely.
It sounds utterly agonizing, but okay, if his heart was with the Pandavas, and he had all this power and wisdom, why didn't he just, I don't know, refuse or defect? Did the sources give any hint that he considered other paths, or was that vow just completely unbreakable for him?
That's a really good question, and it gets right to why he's such a tragic figure.
Yeah.
From everything we can gather from the sources, his commitment was absolute, total. Remember, he took that vow of celibacy and the vow to serve the throne, giving up his own right to be king way back, all for his father's happiness.
The Bhishma Pratigya, the terrible oath.
Exactly. That oath defined his entire life. To break it, even for a just cause, like the Pandavas, it would have been like unraveling his whole identity, negating his lifelong dharma.
So it wasn't just about this specific war.
No. The sources suggest that for him, a world where he broke his word, even for the right side, well, that was a world without any order, without integrity, chaos. He tried to mediate, offered counsel before the war. But once it started, that vow to the throne, Duryodhana's throne, now was his only guide, his inescapable path.
So he couldn't just step aside?
It seems not. That would have been abandoning the duty he chose decades earlier. Maybe he even felt his presence, even on the wrong side, maintained some kind of order or honor, however twisted it got.
Yeah. In a weird way, sticking to his personal vow actually made the war worse, longer, fought by someone who didn't fully believe in it, a devastating outcome for loyalty.
Absolutely.
And when the battle really got going, the intensity must have been off the charts, like you said, not just steel on steel.
No, much deeper.
It was heart against heart. Conscience versus conscience. Families breaking apart right there on the field. We hear about Bhima, just raw power, crushing elephants like they were nothing.
Unbelievable strength.
And Arjuna, the master archer, arrows like lightning, striking foes down with this terrifying speed and precision.
Yeah, the battlefield sounds like pure chaos, a river of blood.
So what about Bhishma himself? Did that internal conflict you mentioned, did it affect how he fought? Did his heart leaning towards the Pandavas make him hold back at all?
That's what you might expect, right? That inner turmoil would weaken him somehow.
Yeah.
But the sources show something startling. Nope, not at all. Bhishma was absolutely devastating on the battlefield, totally dominating day after day. The texts describe him like a forest fire, just blazing through enemy ranks, relentless, an embodiment of ancient warrior skill. So even with a heavy heart, his skill, his prowess, his adherence to his warrior code, they were absolute. And here's the thing. Despite the Pandavas' power, Arjuna's divine bow, Bhima's mace, nobody could stop him.
Not even Arjuna.
Not even Arjuna. Bhishma seemed truly invincible. Like this immovable object, a living fortress the Pandavas just couldn't break through. His internal conflict, it seems, was kept separate from his actions in battle.
Astonishing. But, okay, if he was that good and yet he knew the Pandavas were in the right, did that ever cause friction on his own side? Did Duryodhana ever doubt him? Question his real loyalty?
Oh, absolutely. Duryodhana did question him, especially early on, accused him of being soft on the Pandavas, of partiality.
Okay.
Duryodhana couldn't quite square Bhishma's known affection for them with how devastating he was against them. So there were moments of doubt, even harsh words flung Bhishma's way.
And how did Bhishma react?
He'd just redouble his efforts in the next fight, basically. Prove his loyalty to the throne through sheer martial power.
Which must have been just crushing for the Pandavas. Facing this wall day after day, how did they even think about strategy against him? Against someone so powerful and, well, emotionally complicated.
It created this deep sense of hopelessness for them, you're right. And this is where Krishna steps in. Arjuna's charioteer, his divine guide.
Right.
Krishna looked at Bhishma's seemingly endless power on the field, and he just laid it out plain. He said something that really highlighted Bhishma's sheer force and how bleak things looked for the Pandavas while he fought.
What did he say?
He told Arjuna, straight up, as long as Bhishma stands, victory is impossible.
Wow. Impossible. Not just difficult, impossible. It wasn't just tactics. It was like this almost spiritual declaration. Bhishma represented a barrier they just couldn't overcome through normal means.
Like facing a challenge where one single opponent just holds all the cards makes winning seem completely out of reach.
Exactly. You can't just use brute force. You need something else. Something fundamental has to change. So, okay, you have this impossible situation. Invincible warrior, unbreakable vow, Krishna himself saying he has to fall for victory. But for Arjuna, facing his own beloved grandfather, how did they find a way? What was the solution, or maybe the tragic sacrifice that the story tells us was needed? Because asking Arjuna to fight Bhishma, that's a huge internal struggle right there.
Oh, immense. The emotional weight on Arjuna must have been unbearable. And the solution, well, it wasn't really a solution, more like a tragic path forward. Came from an incredible detail, a secret.
A secret?
Yes, and this is astonishing. Bhishma himself provided it.
What? He told them how to defeat him?
In a way, yes. Our sources say Bhishma knew his time would come.
Yeah.
And in this, ultimate act of controlling his own destiny, even his own end, he gave away the key. He revealed his own vow.
Yeah.
He could never, ever raise arms against a woman.
Against a woman.
Or someone he perceived as female. It wasn't a physical weakness, understand? It was a moral vow, part of his strict code, maybe stemming from something in a past life, the sources hint. It meant he would lower his weapons. He wouldn't fight back.
Okay. So how did they use that?
Well, on the 10th day of the war, the Pandavas put this knowledge, this terrible key, into action. They strategically placed Shikhandi in front of Arjuna.
Shikhandi, who was born female but was living and fighting as a man.
Exactly. But Bhishma, because of events involving Shikandi's past life and his own code, perceived Shikandi in a way that triggered his vow. Faced with Shikandi leading the charge, Bhishma found himself bound by his principle. He couldn't fight.
It was a loophole, but one dictated by Bhishma's own rules.
Entirely by his own unshakable principles, yeah.
That's just incredibly poignant and so tragic. So, faced with Shikandi, Bhishma chose, which is what? To just stop.
He dropped his bow, signaled he wouldn't resist. He deliberately made himself vulnerable, choosing to honor that ancient vow over his own life in that moment.
Wow. And then...
Arjuna.
and then Arjuna, with probably the heaviest heart imaginable, had to do his duty as a warrior in the opposing army. Arrows rained down, piercing the grandsire.
And that image, his body not falling to the ground, that always stuck with me. The bed of arrows. Yes. Yeah. Suspended above the earth, supported only by the countless arrows that had struck him. It's horrifying, yes, but also strangely dignified. He chose how he fell.
Yeah.
And this brings us to maybe the most remarkable part of Bhishma's fall.
There's more.
Oh, yes. He didn't die. Not right away.
He didn't after all that.
No. Yeah. This wasn't just about toughness or endurance. It was an act of, profound agency. Defiance, almost. Remember that boon he had?
Ah, the boon from his father. He could choose when he died.
Exactly. He could choose the precise moment. So even lying there, in agony, on that bed of arrows, suspended between life and death, he chose to wait.
Wait for what?
He waited for the sun to shift north, for the auspicious time of Uttarayana.
Uttarayana, the time believed to be best for, spiritual release.
Precisely. Ancient traditions held it was the most favorable time for the soul's journey upwards. So he endured the pain, waited weeks, maybe longer, lying there.
Just to choose the perfect moment, according to his beliefs.
It was his final, powerful statement, asserting mastery over his own fate, even in total defeat, even in unimaginable suffering. It really makes you think, doesn't it? What does it mean to be master of your own fate, even then?
Yeah.
His choice wasn't just personal spiritual discipline. It was maybe, in a way, a final strategic act too. By waiting, by controlling his own end completely, did he subtly undermine the full psychological victory for the Kauravas?
Interesting point. Like a final act of defiance.
It's this powerful statement about agency, dignity, and making choices that define you, right up to the very last breath. Even in death, adhering to his ultimate dharma.
So, bringing this all together, what did this mean for the war? Bhishma, this great soul, the first truly massive figure, he's gone from the battlefield.
Effectively gone, yes, even though he lingered.
It must have been a huge blow emotionally for both sides, right? A moment of real gravity signaled a shift.
A fundamental shift. One of the most powerful, ethically complex figures was now removed from the equation.
And yet, it was just the beginning, wasn't it?
Sadly, yes. The worst was still very much to come. The war would just escalate from there. More death, more destruction. Now, without Bhishma's, let's say, complicated moral compass on the field, with Bhishma fallen, the throne of Hastinapura, it really trembled. His presence, even fighting for Duryodhana, had been this kind of stabilizing force, a bulwark.
Right.
His absence left a huge void. Militarily, sure, but symbolically, too. It signaled the stakes were higher than ever, that the era of respecting elders, of adhering to codes, however complex, that was fading fast.
No one was safe.
No one. No matter how revered. The war was just entering its most destructive phase, and now its most honorable, if tragic, commander was effectively gone.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, maybe something for you, the listener, to think about. Reflect on those ripple effects. A single, deeply personal choice. Bhishma's vow, his loyalty, his self-chosen end. How did that echo through the whole war, affecting everyone?
Yeah, what happens when that immovable object, absolute principle, meets an impossible choice?
Right. And what does it teach us about how personal vows, family ties, and these huge historical events all weave together? It's fascinating how those individual decisions can shape destinies, drive history forward. Something to mull over.
Definitely something to think about.
Until next time on The Deep Dive,